Thank you, Jim, for all your work at the White House and also from your previous work at the State Department. America's in good hands with you on the job. And Heather from Direct Relief, Shane and Heather from FedEx. We so appreciate the insightful discussion that you shared with us. Now it's my honor to introduce our next speaker, FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell. Prior to her appointment as FEMA Administrator, Ms. Criswell served as the Commissioner of the New York City Emergency Management Department. There, she was responsible for overseeing the city's efforts to plan and prepare for emergencies, educate the public about preparedness, coordinate emergency response and recovery, and disseminate emergency information. It's a lot. What was once a COVID-19 epicenter, we all remember that. She was also there and led New York City's response to the pandemic, preventing the collapse of the healthcare system that was so fragile at the time, working to make sure that no New Yorker went hungry. She also established a first of its kind non-congregate sheltering program, and so much more. From severe flooding in North Dakota to hurricanes in South Carolina to fires in Colorado, for years, she has led different organizations on changing how they did response to disaster, how they planned for recovery. She's just pretty much done it all. And now she's at FEMA. Welcome, Administrator Criswell. It is such a pleasure to have you with us here today.
Mark, thank you so much. And thanks to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation for hosting this event today. It's truly an honor to join you and be able to speak with everybody today. In years to come, we're going to look at the COVID-19 pandemic as a turning point in emergency management. What we saw is that we were stretched, not just with our resources, but we stretched emergency management, the emergency management system, in ways that we have never done before. COVID itself has propelled emergency management to the forefront of relevancy in this post-pandemic environment. And COVID was not easy, and we're not out of the woods just yet. So I want to challenge all of you, FEMA included, to turn your attention toward the future. We've learned so much in the past year, and now we must leverage what we've learned to aggressively plan, invest, and build for the future. This is an opportunity before us to rethink our systems, our investments, our resources, and our decisions. We need to grab this opportunity and chart a new way forward to build partnerships, grow the field, and push sound policies for the future. So what have we learned from COVID-19? Well, first, we learned that resilience isn't just a buzzword. True resilience comes from deep within a community, deep within its economy, its services, and the bonds people share with each other. It's the community coming together, planning, adapting, changing, and finding a new way forward. I saw this in New York City last year, where I was the Emergency Management Commissioner. And in the height of the pandemic, we worked with private companies to help support our PPE supply chain. We must continue to open this aperture toward a broader concept of community resilience, and this is the only way that we're going to be successful at navigating future disasters. We also learned that a ready nation means a prepared and resilient nation. We are one part of a system of resilience, and we all share a responsibility for readiness. Our responsibility is to leverage the capability across all sectors to promote sound decision-making before, during, and after disasters. For FEMA, this means that we must work closer with the private sector, especially in supply chain management and logistics. We must also work closer with a broad range of nonprofit organizations beyond those that we traditionally partner with. We must use data-driven approaches to close the capability gaps that we've seen, especially those related to national security, continuity, and this new wildland-urban interface fire threats that we're seeing right now. We must improve and standardize our disaster program delivery to ensure consistency across all of our regions and our states. And we must modernize our grant systems to be user-centric, focused on threats and hazards to buy down risk. FEMA and the nation must be ready, and our collaboration with business and industry leaders is an important part, a critical piece of this readiness. FEMA's push for the National Response Framework's Emergency Support Function 14, or ESF 14, supports and aligns cross-sector operations among our infrastructure owners and operators, businesses and government partners to help stabilize community lifelines during a disaster. The activation of ESF 14 was critical in coordinating with our industry partners in our response to COVID-19, along with our partners at CISA and other interagency partners. FEMA's National Business Emergency Operations Center, housed within our Office of Business, Industry, and Infrastructure Integration, continues to be the national go-to for business and industry during crisis, with a record activation of 435 days during the COVID-19 response. And we are learning from these partnerships as we look ahead to future threats. This also means not just doing what we've always done before. We must invest in the future in bigger and bolder ways. Climate change is here. Storms are increasing in intensity, and we see historic wildfires year after year. We will not be capable of responding to these future threats if we don't invest now. Our money, time, and energy must be oriented toward the future, not just the short term. And at FEMA, we are expanding our investment in resilience through hazard mitigation grants. We know that every dollar the federal government invests in mitigation sees a $6 return. Earlier this month, we announced the first $700 million in mitigation grants to make communities stronger, including more than $26 million to tribal governments. And in the next few weeks, we will be releasing a $1 billion Building Resilient Infrastructure and Communities, or BRIC funding notification for fiscal year 21. FEMA's investment through mitigation is just one part of building resilience nationwide. You play a critical role in building resilience through the partnerships that you forge and foster. The future of our nation will depend on it. The public-private relationships, those connections, keep our system of resilience strong, healthy, and adaptable for whatever we might see next. Finally, we've learned that the cascading effects of hazards and disasters impact our communities differently. COVID was a stark reminder that disasters disproportionately affect our underserved communities. To build a stronger future, we must improve access to resources and ensure the relatability of our information and the actions we ask people to take. Bottom line, we must advance equity before, during, and after disasters. If we're going to invest in our communities, we must invest in the whole community, not just those who can afford it and live without real systemic barriers. The onus is on us to chart this path forward. We, all of us together, must make and continue to make equity a part of our conversation. We must meet people where they are. We must find innovative ways to build capacity for everyone. During the COVID-19 vaccine mission, we oriented our community vaccination centers toward advancing equity. The center locations were strategically chosen, and our outreach was tailored toward the underserved. As a result, more than 58% of all doses administered at the federal pilot sites went to communities of color, which is much higher than the national average of non-white vaccination rates. The lesson that we learned was that advancing equity means intentional decision-making. It means planning for the future with a deliberate focus on turning equity ideas into action. Last week, we announced two new initiatives, an agency-wide steering group and the development of our 5-year strategic plan to advance equity across our agency. These early steps will focus the agency toward reducing the barriers and increasing opportunities for the health of our workforce and survivors. We have a long way to go in advancing equity across the resilience space, but I am very optimistic about the future. We are all part of building resilience, and together we can go beyond, far beyond what we can do alone. So one of the greatest lessons from COVID is that we are all connected. Our communities extend beyond our neighborhoods and cities. Our future is intertwined. I feel a strong sense of urgency about the future, and I really hope that you feel it too. A stronger, more resilient future is within our grasp, and we just need to make it happen. Thank you very much.